Welcome to week 5 of college football. Some remarkable games coming up this weekend, especially in the Southeastern Conference, but let's spend a few moments with James and try to figure things out.
Visit your local Toyota dealers today. Toyota, let's go places.
What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, and I'm here with Greg McGarity, and this is the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection show presented by Toyota, where each and every week we go over the landscape of college football in the ACC and the SEC and how it relates to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl played here on December 27th, prime time in the beautiful city of Jacksonville, Florida. What's going on, Greg? How you doing?
Great. All is well, and looking forward to another action-packed weekend of college football.
We had a good weekend last weekend in general, not just with college football, but just to talk to people about. We have the annual Chairman's Club weekend held at the Omni Resort on Amelia Island, which it happens to be where one of the teams that gets the opportunity to play for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl gets to stay on the beach, beautiful scenery, good food.
Yeah.
What was that weekend about? Why do we have this weekend, and why should the people why should this be one of the reasons they want to be in the Chairman's Club?
Well, it's a great chance to interact with leaders in the community. We had over 140 couples attend this year, our best crowd ever. And really, it's just a chance to kind of download, have a little fun, a little fellowship, and be surrounded by a lot of people that want to do great things for our community. But it was a great weekend. Weather cooperated, food was great, and the staff at the Omni did a superb job.
Very, very good job. It's a beautiful resort. Make sure you guys go check it out. It helps when you get a chance to watch some really, really good football. So let's talk about some of the games last weekend. Which were some of the ones that stood out to you the most?
Well, I think the South Carolina-Missouri game in the SEC was really a tough game because now, Carolina's behind the 8 ball, being 0-2 in the conference, and then Oklahoma's win at home over Auburn. Auburn's got to go to Texas A&M this week, so they're really behind the gun as far as having a tough early season schedule. But those games and then Syracuse really just manhandling Clemson, and Clemson was kind of surprising from that standpoint. And then Miami, Florida, a little bit closer than everyone thought, but Miami in the end kind of showed its will up front and kind of dominated when they had to in crunch time.
I like what Mario does, that little running up the score thing he does in the fourth quarter. I don't want to be on the wrong side of it, but it definitely helps continue to keep the hype for a showdown that's going to happen in a few weeks that we won't peek past this weekend. But real quick, since we have it and we get an opportunity to talk about some things that other people might not know or educate them, you were an athletic director once upon a time. Actually, worked at Florida and Clemson. When you have a coach that's going through a rough spot, two different coaches in two different parts of their career, but Dabo and Billy Napier probably did not. This isn't what they dreamed or envisioned this season going. What are those conversations like? And can it change, or is it just something kind of just say, hey, let the chips fall where they may?
Well, in the case of Coach Sweeney, they've won the conference 8 out of 10 years. So everything's not going to be great every year. You're going to have some years that you struggle. Things just don't work out, and you're always probably going to be the biggest game on your opponent's schedule. So you've got to perform at a very high level. Maintaining that level is difficult, but he's going to be okay. This guy's been at it for so many years, loves Clemson. So hopefully they're very patient with him and lets him kind of get through this. Unfortunately, Billy Napier doesn't have that track record. And so in a season that has incredibly tough games, there's no margin for error. And I know they've struggled offensively, but the one thing they have not done is they haven't quit. They really play hard. They've had some struggles there. So as an athletic director, I look at sort of the intangibles. How are they handling practice? What's the tone of the team? And I'm not in any one of those locker rooms, but those are things that I would look for is the level of discipline. I think there's some issues there maybe Florida's had off the field that could be concerning because you need every ounce of your energy focused on making your team better. And you can't pay attention to the outside noise. And so it's a tough evaluation period. It's the hardest thing probably athletic directors have to do because football is the cash cow for all these institutions. So it's just a very deliberate process, and I wouldn't want to be in either one of those shoes at Clemson or Florida.
Definitely understand that. So we talked about some of the bigger ones. Oh, also, why is 0-2 so important at this juncture right now? Like, why is that bad?
Well, if you're going to fight for a title, the tiebreakers are already in place, and if you're competing against a team that both of you have 2 losses, and that tiebreaker's really going to come into play. So I don't know how many teams competing in the conference championship have 2 losses or more. Probably very few. So you've got to run the table, and then you've got to have some help. And both conferences are so difficult this year, that may come into play. So it may be not that surprising to see a 2-loss team be in the ACC championship game or the SEC championship game.
We talked about the bigger games that happened. We got a chance to also see Florida State come out and establish dominance again against a weaker opponent, but doing what they're supposed to do. What are some of the surprises in both conferences before we get into this weekend's games as far as teams go?
Well, I think Vandy in the SEC has a chance to go 5-0 before they face Alabama. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card beforehand, but I think a lot of it is Texas. This week is so pivotal in the SEC because you've got Ole Miss hosting LSU. That's a game that's one of those teams will probably drop in the college football playoff. You've got Georgia, Alabama. You've got Tennessee at Mississippi State, which is a dangerous game for Tennessee. Mississippi State's undefeated. They're coming in with a lot of juice, and that's a very difficult place to play. But and Auburn at A&M, as we mentioned earlier, that's a difficult environment to play in. And Auburn back-to-back, that's pretty tough stuff there. But really the only game in the ACC this week that really has a tremendous impact is FSU at Virginia on Friday night in Charlottesville. But a lot of really difficult games coming up that'll really have an impact. But people don't need to panic. It's not the end of the year. I know it's we're reaching the midpoint of the year. It's hard to believe in a few weeks we'll be at the midpoint of the year. But a lot of games are going to really have a tremendous impact on both championships this weekend.
Yeah, FSU gets an opportunity to show if they're for real. Was last year a fluke, or were they really trending from the 10-3, 13-1? Are they going back toward that thing? A lot of hype, a lot of fun. Again, setting up for a good matchup between FSU and Miami on October 4th. What are some of the teams right now that we should be watching? Obviously, everybody's on the table, but based upon what we've seen in this first part of the season, who are some teams that we feel may be able to fall into our pool, and how is that pool selected?
Well, if the season ended today, 5 SEC teams would play up, and then the remaining teams would be in our pool along with 6 other bowls. So a lot of those teams in the SEC are going to knock each other off during the year, and especially coming up this weekend. But we would basically, teams that have 10 wins or more, which I think they're going to be a large number in the SEC and the ACC this year, it's going to be a very strong pool. But I think 9 or 8 wins, I think teams are going to have at least 8 wins this year to be in our game. Of course, last year's game, both teams had more than 8 wins. It's very impressive. So I just think you have to look during the season, and teams that are supposed to win games, they need to win those games. But I think it's going to take 9 wins, at least 9 wins to get in this year.
Okay, and some of those teams that we're looking for, that we'll have to pick. Obviously, the college football playoff gets their selection. Then we're in a pool with three other bowls for the ACC. San Diego
and Orlando in the ACC.
And then Orlando's Pop-Tarts.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
And then SEC is Tampa.
Yeah, Orlando gets the first pick.
Okay.
So they get a pick. And then we're in there with 5 other bowls, including Nashville, Charlotte this year, Tampa, Houston, Memphis, that all come into play, and, of course, Jacksonville. So we're all in the mix, and hopefully there'll be some regionality impacting this year's game. Last year, neither team was really in our region, But in the past, we've had good success with teams that are in our area that can drive within 6 hours. So, that bodes well. We're hoping Auburn has a really good year. It'd be good to have them back here. They hadn't been back here in decades. Hopefully Florida can get their act together. They're off this week, but then they've got Texas at home. So, it'd be great if Florida could have a resurgence here and play well. And obviously, Florida State probably has aspirations to play in the college football playoff, but, they've got a long road to go too. So, but they're in position. They're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination and have no indicators to show that they wouldn't be among the top 10 teams in the country.
Oh, that's some good words right there. Again, so we can beat the experts. What are some things? What are some disqualifiers for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl?
Well, you can't have rematches of last year's bowl game. You couldn't even have Duke or Duke in our game this year. Couldn't have Ole Miss in our game. You don't want to have bowl fatigue. You really try to avoid matchups in bowl games last year or even games that are on the schedule in 2026. So those things come into play, and you want a little variation there. And you would hope that teams that played this year or last year or the year before may not be able to be in our game either, because it just provides a little break for the fans, and we want people to come into Jacksonville and experience it, and the teams to enjoy all the wonderful things that we have in North Florida that certainly add to a phenomenal week. So we just know that we won't have Ole Miss or Duke this year, and then we all move on to the other teams in the conference.
All right, well, there you have it. We talked about last week's games, exciting games that we're looking for, especially on the SEC slate. A little bit more competitive. Friday night tells us a lot about the ACC as well. A lot of other good college football going on. Be grateful. It's going by fast. We waited all year to get to this, and then now it feels like it's almost away from us. Some of us are very excited, trying to savor every moment of the big three. That'd be FSU and Miami. Some of us are kind of like, all right, well, what else are we going to do on Saturdays? Got to get some hobbies, Florida fans, but help is on the way. And every week, the help will come on the way with me at BigGameJames_36 and Greg McGarity as we bring you the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection show presented by Toyota. We will see you guys next week.
Visit your local Toyota dealers today. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back to another week of Off the Field. To be honest with you, I have no idea what week we're on now, so we're just going to go with welcome back to another week to start this one. As Greg and James mentioned, one of the biggest things that happens in membership all year happened last weekend, the Chairman's Club weekend. We were just really honored to have more than 140 couples representing our Chairman's Club members with us in Amelia Island for the weekend. The weather was perfect, the fellowship was great, and then in addition to that, we got to spend some time doing some philanthropy as well. So we partnered with FIS during our brunch on Saturday, and we're able to work with United Way we made goodie bags, if you will, with a focus on period poverty. So these will go into local high schools. They're called confidence kits, and they give young women the supplies they need for any type of hygiene issues they may be encountering. We learned as part of this process that this is a big issue in our community, that young women particularly are missing a lot of school because they don't have the supplies from a hygiene standpoint to be comfortable being in school. So it was awesome to see our members come together and really work towards this goal of filling these bags. So we did 350 bags that will be in local high schools in the near future. And then we just came right back to work, and we had a pretty big day yesterday as well.
We did. Yeah, so we are working on some rebranding. You've seen it on our social media. We replaced Gator Bowl Sports social channels with Gator Bowl Charities. You've seen and heard from us through the years, Gator Bowl Charities has continued to grow, and we're so excited to see it continue to flourish. And we thought it was time to update our Gator Bowl Charities kind of hype video. We created it 10 years ago was the last time we did one, and as you can imagine, we have a lot of new programs that we wanted to make sure to highlight. We had some incredible guests join us at 3D Digital in their studio yesterday to film and talk about their experience with Gator Bowl Charities. We had Blake, who is a past Dream Team member. We had someone from Pop Warner, some of our very incredible sponsors from Dreams Come True, ViStar, FIS. So it was a really fun day to hear them talk about their experiences with us, how Gator Bowl Charities has impacted impacted them and the community, and we look forward to showing you that video here in probably the next 90 days to 2 months. But I think that's it for the week, so we will see you next week. Enjoy the weekend of college football.